Beginning in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Endzone to Endzone. And today we got quite a bit of stuff to talk about. It's not too crazy out here in the NFL world. Yeah, this week's been pretty decent in terms of the news. I didn't really want to get into all the drama-filled stuff just because I feel like, I don't want to make this podcast about those type of topics, because I feel like those type of topics that a lot of the media likes to cover, it's a lot of baloney, and it kind of cheapens, a lot of what the sport is about. So my topic is going to be a little different and a little more objective, and rather than very opinionated. So let's get right to it. Alright, guys, so the first topic we're going to be going over is, I was paying attention to the week, and then I saw this video popped up in my feed, and I saw this video about the Steelers linebacker Ryan Shazier, or Shazier, however you guys want to say it, but I say it Ryan Shazier. There's a video, that popped up on the internet on a social media feed and stuff about him getting further along his rehab, and the guy was doing box jumps, right? So if any of you guys don't know what box jumps are, you line up boxes on top of each other, and then you jump on top of it, and it's a good workout. No, like, not lying. It's like the opposite of squats, right? Whereas squats, you're either carrying weights on your shoulder, or you're holding your arms, and then you're kind of going down and you're coming back up. Whereas box jumps are, you're standing on the ground, there's boxes lined up on top of each other in front of you, and then you jump off the ground on top of the boxes. So it kind of like is the opposite of a squat. It builds up a lot of burst strength in your legs. So there's a video showing Ryan Shazier doing some assisted box jumps, right? Assisted and supervised. So he had like his trainer helping him out doing it, and he was jumping up there. I think is really, I think it's really cool. It's a really great thing to see. If we're talking about how far he's come the past 2 years, it's actually a really great thing. About 2 years ago, during the December 4th game against the Cincinnati Bengals, Ryan Shazier was just trying to make a tackle, and he dove forward to make a tackle, and the Bengals player jumped, and so Ryan Shazier's top of his head hit the guy's hamstring area, and he got paralyzed by it. He got a spinal injury that caused paralysis on his body. So it was very sad to see a guy that was really young, going down to injury like that. And a lot of people, including me, I was one of them, that we felt like this might be it for him. You don't really see guys taking injuries like that coming back from it. And so, he took an injury from that. And then you fast forward to 1 year later, the dude was literally, with a little assistance, he was walking during the 2018 NFL draft of last year. He walked out there to the podium to announce a Steelers draft pick. That was a huge thing, but when I saw it, it hurt, because I looked at it and I'm like, dude, this guy's not, obviously he's not walking right, and it's just not the same, and it hurt to see him recover like that, to know that he did make the statement that he wanted to continue to play football. But chances are, for me, chances are you're not going to get it, because this injury was so severe. And he obviously made it to the Steelers field and pumped up the guys too. So it's just one of those things where it's great to see him progress along his journey. Maybe one day he will come back. Maybe one day he will be able to play in the NFL. But chances are he probably played like 1 year and that's it. But I think to be able to see him play is definitely going to be a big win for the NFL, because they will look and say that in his story, they were able to help him in a way recover and get back on his feet and give him a chance to play football again. So it's a great sight to see him be doing those box jumps. I mean, I understand that it was supervised, but to be able to even do it, it's a great thing. And it's not something that most guys get the opportunity to do, because most of the time their injuries are so severe that they just forego even trying to get back to the NFL. So shouts out to Ryan Shazier on his rehab. It was great to see him doing those workouts and him getting back into it. I think he's still going to be like another 2 years out, because obviously as you guys know, the NFL has like a performance checklist. In order for these guys to be able to play football, they have to pass this checklist of being physically capable to play. And if he wants to truly be able to play again, chances are the guy's gotta pass that. And the chances, I don't really know. He's it's been 2 years and he's barely doing assisted box jumps. The dude I think he was like 26 or something like that when he got his contract, when he got hurt. So for another 2 years, he's 28. Another 2 more, he's 30. I mean, the guy's not going to come back and play when he's like 35. That's just silly. But I hope to see him at least in one game, just to see that moment. For him. Not for me as a fan of the sport. I would really rather he just kick back and chill. But for him, I hope that it works out for him, and for him, so that he can complete that part of his dream of playing that sport. So that was like a feel good thing to see throughout the week of a lot of like baloney drama in the NFL, especially for the Steelers. If you guys know what I'm talking about, especially for the Steelers. All right, so this is my first continuation topic I'm choosing to do. It truly comes from the fact that it is a very interesting topic that is not really media drama spun filled. Like this topic is, it's not some kind of dumb topic where it's just about getting clicks and stuff. Like this topic I feel is a real good topic, and it is about the chances of where Russell Wilson might be playing next year, if he's not signed by Seattle. So if you guys listen to my previous podcast, I had talked about Russell Wilson and his contract situation he's in with the Seahawks, and how I felt about what the Seahawks should be willing to pay for him, and what they should be willing to offer him, and what should happen. And I dug into the fact that I don't believe he's a $34-35 million quarterback, because I just don't think he is, because of the fact that throughout the entire season, the guy doesn't put up the numbers consistently to be considered an all-pro quarterback. I mean, you guys think about it. I was talking about his achievements, and right now, the guy he's 30, and he has never been a part of the NFL all-pro team. Now, this is not Pro Bowl. This is by the analyst, by the article writers, by the NFL inner circle type of thing, right? So these guys are the guys that are around the core of the NFL the first line around the NFL, the first ring, and they don't even see him year in, year out as a top quarterback in comparison to other guys. It's truly like the media who views him that way. So what I mean by the media, I mean the media as in, the sports channels or, opinionists. They're the guys that really like, oh yeah, he's one of the best quarterbacks. Hold up. If he is, why is it that he's never considered as an all-pro quarterback in comparison to other guys who have been on there? And it's like, you would think that, maybe every year a guy like Tom Brady or, let's say the NFC, a guy like Aaron Rodgers makes it every year. No, he doesn't make it every year. Aaron Rodgers has been playing for 10 years plus. Aaron Rodgers doesn't have 10 years plus of all-pro listing. He doesn't. But then Russell Wilson gets the chance, and then he just gets outplayed by another quarterback who gets put in there instead of him. So again, I don't want to dig into too far deep into it, but I talked about how there was that article that talked about Russell Wilson giving the Seattle Seahawks a deadline, right? Well, guess what, guys? The deadline's here. It's coming up, April 15th. This is the day I release this podcast. That's the day. That's the deadline. So if he sticks to his guns, then the Seahawks better get a deal done by April 15th. Now, of course, I remember I was listening to guys like Jason Whitlock and them. They were talking about how this is just total trash. Don't even worry about it because he set a deadline, but there's an NFL deadline, and those guys are going to go by the NFL deadline. Sure, I get that. But the difference in that, right, is that he specifically gave them that deadline. There's got to be a reason why he gave them that deadline. And if they don't give it to him by then, there's a chance that he's just going to be like, guys, I'm just going to hold out. I'm not going to play. So y'all better trade me, So obviously with that, then we have the obvious rumor that the Giants are a definite landing spot for him, right? They don't have the, they have the good high pick. They can, give him that contract. They can kick out Eli. Well, I don't know if they're really going to kick him out, but they could bench Eli. So. And there, a lot of these media guys have been talking about the Giants. And it's not really just the media either, these media guys, they're getting it from these analysts and from these inner ring circle guys that are letting them know that the Giants are definitely interested. So I'm not saying that the Giants are the only team interested, because there are a lot of other teams, maybe the Miami Dolphins. I don't know the Redskins want, but the Redskins, right? So there's just a lot of things that could definitely happen if the Seahawks choose not to keep him. If the Seahawks are like, dude, we don't want to pay you that much. One, we got to pay our other guys. Two, we just don't feel that you game in, game out are a $34 million quarterback. That's just the truth. I mean, it's one of those things where if you're let's just put it this way, if you're going to be paid $34 million, we expect to be in Super Bowl contention regardless of whether you have pieces around you or not. That's like the unspoken rule of this top paid quarterback money thing, is if we're paying you all this money, we expect you to take us to the Super Bowl every time. You cannot have a down game. You cannot be inconsistent like how you are, Russell. You can't have 3 games of doing nothing and then 4 games of doing everything and then another 2 games of doing nothing. We can't have that. We need you to be consistent. Not only that, we need you to start following the goddamn plan, right? And if the plan is you know what? We're kind of looking for you to drop back and pass rather than drop back, run around, make a guy get open, then throw it. It's just those things. If you want to be paid that much, there are certain things that you're going to have to abide by as a player. And so I don't know if Russell, wants that, right? I don't know if he wants to be chained that way. He might be like, you know what, guys, I want to be able to I want to be allowed to do what I want to do as a quarterback on the field. You guys draw up the plays, but let me play it. Like maybe that's what he's been talking about, and that's what's making it difficult on them, because they're like, Russell, we don't want that. We want you to follow what we want you to do. So from what I've heard throughout the week is that they are not close to a deal. They're still working it out, but I expect that a deal should be done because the Seahawks kind of need him. But if they don't, I could see him going to the Giants. I could see him going to the Redskins. I could see him going to the Dolphins. Maybe even the Bengals. The Bengals could probably give up their first round and Andy Dalton for him. That type of deal. And so I could see these teams trading for him because, one, they have the cap to give him the money up front, and two, they are kind of more desperate than the Seahawks, because again, the Seahawks went to the playoffs in the wild card round, lost to the Dallas Cowboys, but the thing is, they went to the playoffs with a typical Russell Wilson, right? His stats, sure, was it the best of all his seasons? Yes. He had the most touchdowns he ever threw in a season by one. But based off of how he played, it was typical. It was very typical Russell Wilson style. It's his typical gameplay. He balls out for a couple games, goes ice cold for another couple games, goes hot again, cold again, hot again, but despite all that, the one thing they had consistent was they were the number one rushing offensive team. So because of that allowed them to make it to the playoffs. How about that, guys? The Seahawks go back to their bread and butter, which is hard-nosed running, and then playing great defense, and then, well, not really great defense, but a solid defense, and then having Russell kind of do his thing. They make it to the playoffs again. But these guys who made it to the Super Bowl before, they don't have time to just make it to the playoffs and that's it. They need to make it to Super Bowl. So I just don't think that the Seahawks are willing to pay him that money. And if that's the case, then who knows where he might go. He might get traded. And that would definitely shake things up for the draft. So I might end up just continuing to report about this just because it's a very interesting topic to report about, guys. Very, very interesting. Now, on to my last topic of this podcast episode. I also kind of just roughly passed by this situation, but I really think that it's definitely deserving of an insight. Because, the NFL media doesn't really talk about it, and the sports media, they don't really talk about it, but it definitely deserves to be talked about because it's something that's meant to further the sport, right? And it's this whole idea, this whole, event about the NFL and the NFL Players Union doing a test on the helmets, right? So the results came in from the test, and with those results, the NFL and the NFL Players Union and those guys, they decided they were able to further upon decide which helmets are good and which are not good, right? Now, what's the importance of this? This obviously spurs all the way back to when these concussion stuff all started, which is obviously back to man, like the early 2000s, 2009, 2010, those years when they kind of first started talking about him. And the NFL had been working on this long period of time to try to find good helmets that these players can wear that will help them reduce the amount of concussions, along with other rules. But think about it, guys, like these helmets are protecting their head, right? And so the NFL obviously completed this study, and with it they seem to have kicked out another 11 brands, helmet brands, out, right? Which are considered prohibited helmets. Now, obviously, not everybody is wearing the same helmets. Also, not everybody's wearing the safest helmet. Some guys are wearing less safe helmets, and some guys are wearing the most safe helmets. And I mean, when I was looking into it, I actually found out that Tom Brady, right, the Patriots quarterback, he was wearing one of the prohibited helmets. And he's like the NFL's golden child. So even their golden child is not wearing the safest helmets. And I get it. Some of you guys gonna be like, yeah, that's then why even talk about it? Well, I look and I say this needs to be talked about, because if the NFL, like, the thing is, if you don't talk about it and you report about it, but you don't talk about it, you don't make it a hot topic for everyone to look at, then why even pay attention to the bads? If you're willing to pay attention to the bad but not pay attention to the good, then you're just complaining for no reason. The NFL went through all this to come up with their list of good helmets and stuff. But if they don't talk about it, they don't report about it, they don't get their players to wear these helmets, then what's the whole point of these players coming from the past, or players currently, or media guys currently criticizing the NFL, when it's like, well, we did it, you guys need to report about it so that our guys would wear it. And if you guys don't do your job, then what's the whole point? You guys are gonna complain and kill us over it when we give them the information and they don't want to take it. So I'm going to be one of the media guys, and I'm gonna give that information out. So if anybody decides to listen to it, they'll hear about it. There's obviously a list, right, that talks about the brands that are good. They have a color-coded scheme with starting from like a dark green to a light green to a yellow, orange, and the red, right? So let's just start off with the ones that have been kicked out, right? The red, the prohibited helmets. They show here Rawlings Impulse, Rawlings Impulse Plus, Rawlings Tachyon, Rawlings Quantum Plus, Riddle VSR 4, Shut Air XP, XP Pro, Shut Vengeance Z10, SG Varsity, and SG 2.0. Those are the brands that have now been prohibited from the NFL. Any player who wears it, I believe the NFL is going to get on their case about it and say, don't wear them, or you're not allowed to wear anymore. Now, obviously, as quoted by certain guys in the NFL, Jeff Miller, and NFL's executive vice president of health and safety initiatives, he stated that about 26% in the league in week 17 were wearing yellow or red performing helmets. 26. That's a whole quarter of the NFL guys. That's very bad. So they're obviously trying to prevent this, and they are trying to reduce this, right? They have they have done their research to try and find it, and and it's a good thing, you know. I mean, if we're looking in terms of top performing, right? So from top to bottom, we have, and there's a lot of, look guys, you may think that there's only like a few brands. There's a lot of brands, a lot of products for these helmets for these guys to wear. So I don't want to hear this complaint about players talking about, oh, they don't got enough helmets. No, get out of here. Obviously, if you just look at the list, start from the top, right? You have the best performing one, which is the VICIS, Vicious Zerol, spelled ZEROL. That is the best performing one, the 2018 best performing one. And then next will be a Schutt F7 LTD. Then to the Riddle Speedflex Precision Diamond, to the Riddle Speedflex Precision. Next, you get the Schutt Air XP Pro VTD 2, and then the XP Pro, XP Pro VTD, and then XP Pro Q11, then Riddle Speedflex 2019, Zenith Shadow 2018, Schutt F7 VTD, Zenith Epic Plus, Schutt F7, Zenith X2E Plus, Schutt Vengeance Pro LTD, Zenith Epic, Riddle Speed, Schutt Air XP Pro Q10 VTD, Riddle Revolution IQ, Schutt DNA Pro Plus, Schutt Vengeance DCT, Schutt Vengeance Z10 LTD, Riddle Speed Icon, Zenith X2E, Riddle Foundation, Riddle Revolution Speed Classic, Riddle Speed Classic Icon, and the Shuttle Vengeance VTD. Those were all the guys that were in the green to light green area. Obviously, then you have like the guys that are under the threshold, and I believe at a certain point, those guys that are under the threshold, the yellow and orange, are just gonna get kicked out eventually. I will be attaching the link at the bottom, so you can see below the video that the link that will kind of give you guys the breakdown, that will give you guys the breakdown to it, because I really think that, you know, if these players, they know about these things, they're definitely going to be able to improve the play out there, because obviously the helmets are probably the most important, you know, thing out there for them. So I really wanted to, you know, talk about the helmets, because I believe that is definitely something that is deserving of talking about. And it does sadden me a bit that I don't see, you know, articles and these media outlets talking about it. I know it's a boring topic. It's not spicy or clickbait, but it's a very important topic. And guys, you know, and the thing is, like, these media guys, they have a lot of sway in how players approach their everyday, and the fact that they don't talk about it is very upsetting. So I'm gonna put it out there, and I hope that, you know, this kind of is able to kind of give some of that information out there, because it's definitely something good that's gonna forward the league. Alright guys, so that's a wrap. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Endzone to Endzone. Keep looking at the NFL stratosphere, because you know I will, and I'm going to again attach those links down below. So always remember, hit the like, subscribe, hit that bell, so every time I post something, you guys definitely get to be updated and notified about it. And you know, if there's any comments that you guys want to talk about, maybe there's some topics you guys want me to dig into, just let me know. All right, so peace out guys.